We are discussing about chapter 7, which is control and coordination. Control and coordination. The living organisms, they have different organs. All organs have different works, and they should work in cooperation and coordination. So when they work together to make a living being possible, this is known as coordination. So proper control and this coordination is very much required, necessary to carry out the essential functions of the living being or life. Animals, they have nervous system. In this nervous system, it consists of a very specialized nerve which we called as neurons. This is a structure of a neuron. So a typical neuron consists of a cell body. This is a cell body, and we have an axon. This is an axon, and dendrites. These branches, these are dendrites. Cell body has a nucleus. This is a nucleus. So these dendrites, these are responsible for detecting the information from the outside environment, and this information is being picked up by these dendritic tips, and they set off the electrical pulse that travel from the dendrite to the cell body and then to axon. This is the structure of the neuron. Now, reflex action. Whenever there is some stimulus, there is something happening, or the body reacts to it. Sudden response to these environmental stimulus is known as reflex. For instance, we can know if we touch something which is hot. So we just at the fraction of a second, we take our hands out of the flame or the object which is hot. This is the reflex arc, and basically this is a pathway, and we have brain in our head, then we have spinal cords. These are all sensory stuff, sensory veins that connects here, and then it goes to brain. So sensory neurons, synapse, is the spinal cord before it passes to the brain. So the pathway is known as reflex arc. Eye is one of the receptor. All the organs here means the skin, of course, is a sensory part of the body. So there is a response which needs to be done. So when we have a sensory neuron, so it goes to your brain. Here decision making or conscious thought is being done. Then the spinal reflex arc, this is quite rapid and involuntary. This is a motor neuron. This is how effector does whenever there is some response. So this is a path. It's called a reflex arc. All the vertebrates, the nervous system is classified as central nervous system and a peripheral nervous system. So the brain and spinal cords, these are part of the central nervous system. The peripheral nervous system, this consists of autonomic nervous system and somatic nervous system. This autonomic nervous system, it consists of spinal nerves, it consists of cranial nerves. This is human brain. So brain is divided into forebrain, the midbrain, and hindbrain. I can take you to one more figure of this structure of human brain, and we will be talking about the thalamus, hypothalamus. These are the glands, pituitary glands. This is cerebrum, corpus callosum, and ventricles, of course, the midbrain, cerebrum, and brainstem. So we started with brain. Brain has forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. The forebrain, this consists of a cerebrum, the hypothalamus, and thalamus. So this forebrain is specialized for what? For hearing, for sight, for smell. It also controls involuntary movement in our body, like the leg muscles. Involuntary means the action of our body that doesn't need any thinking. While you are walking, You don't need anything. You may be thinking in your head about something else and you are walking. Then we have center for hunger. This is also located in the separate part of the forebrain itself. The cerebral, or you can call it as a cerebral cortex, it consists of four lobes. The this peritial lobe, this is temporal lobe, this is occipital lobe, and frontal lobe. So these are the different lobes of the brain. Then we have midbrain. So midbrain is located between the front and hindbrain. So here midbrain is located. So it contains or it controls certain involuntary actions in the body, as I said, walking type of thing, and the voluntary things are walking. But involuntary things are which are not happening by itself. The brain needs to do something to indicate or to direct our body part to do something. So this controls involuntary actions, not the voluntary actions like walking. Then the hindbrain consists of pons, medulla, and cerebrum, and it consists of the salivation, the blood pressure, and the vomiting. You might have seen people vomiting when they are on the going on a height, means going on a mountain road. Cerebellum also controls certain important parts such as riding a bicycle, picking up the pencil, and also maintains the posture and balance of the body. You might have seen people who are drunk, who are in the action of alcohol. They can't stand properly, they can't balance themselves. So this is the part of the brain which is affected, which is not good. Brain is protected by a bony, there is a proper bony case, we call it as cranium. It's a cranium. So cranium also contains certain fluid filled with this is known as cerebrospinal fluid that protects this brain from any minor mechanical shock or injury. And vertebral column, the spinal cord is supported by the vertebral column. How these nervous tissues they cause action? See, first the information is received, and the information is received by nervous tissue. Then it goes to brain muscles, and this causes or this indicates some action. So the junction between the two neurons, this is junction, this is known as synapse. And information, these are passed from one neuron to another neuron. This is via, it can be by two means, electrical or chemical transmission. So electrical transmission and chemical transmission. In electrical transmission, there is no need of any neurotransmitter. Chemical transmission, neurotransmitter is required. In electrical transmission, this is a fast mode of nerve impulse transmission. As compared to electrical transmission, chemical transmission is a slow mode of nerve impulse transmission. Impulses are directly transmitted from one neuron to another in the electrical transmission, but in chemical transmission, it is not directly transmitted from one neuron to another, but it has to go to some medium. How does coordination in plant take place? Because plants do not have any nervous system or muscle, but they do respond to the stimulus. For example, Mimosa pudica, a touch me not plant. If it is touched, it folds its leaf and droop. So there are two types of movement in this plant. One is dependent on growth and one is independent of growth. So there are two types of movements. When we touch this Mimosa pudica, its leaves fold but no growth occurs. That means it does not involve any growth. So it is independent of growth. But if you move seedling from one, say paddy seedling or some seedling, then it grows because it is dependent on the growth. So plant convey information from cell to cell through the electrical chemical means. So hormones which are produced in plants, these are hormones, these are the functions. So auxins, so this is promoting the root growth, cytokinin for promoting the shoot growth and the, you can say, branch growth and cell division. This gibberellin is for the promotion of flower, abscisic acid for retarding the growth, And ethylene, it helps in fruit ripening. When it comes to movement due to growth, see, the most common example you can take is of movement of growth of tendrils. So these tendrils are quite sensitive to touch, but when they come in contact with, say, certain object, the part of tendril which is away from the object, this will go faster as compared to the part of tendril which is somewhat closer or in contact with the objects. So it is a directional movement, and it appears that if the plant is actually moving. So this directional movement of plants, these are known as tropic movements. And the movement can be, say, towards the stimulus, or it can be away from the stimulus as well. There are certain examples of some movements in plant, like the phototropism, that is the movement due to light; the gravitopism, that is the movement due to gravity; hydrotropism, movement due to water; and chemotropism, this is the movement due to some chemicals. Endocrine glands, all these which you see here, these are human body glands, endocrine glands. So they are chemical messengers. Very small quantity, they are being secreted in very small quantity, but they are chemical messengers. And there are two type of glands: endocrine glands and exocrine glands. Endocrine and exocrine. These endocrine glands, they do not have ducts. Because they do not have ducts, they can't carry the secretion. They produce the hormones, right? From here we start hypothalamus, pituitary, pineal, thyroid, then parathyroid, here itself, thymus, then this is adrenal, and we have kidney, pancreas, especially for different juices for digestion, then ovaries, uterus, testes, these are testes. These balls are testes. So these exocrine glands, they do not have ducts to carry their secretion. They do have, sorry. Endocrine, they do not have ducts to carry their secretion, but exocrine, they do have ducts to carry their secretion. There are certain different hormones being secreted in the body, and their function we must know. Endocrine gland, like the thyroid gland, so this produces thyroxine, that is regulating the metabolism of food, carbohydrate, protein, fat. Adrenal gland, this produces adrenaline. It is secreted at the time of fear, fight, flight, all high powered fast activities. Adrenal gland produces adrenaline. Pancreas, this produces insulin and glucagon, which regulate glucose metabolism in our body. You might have seen people saying that I have sugar. That means there is a problem of insulin. Testes, this produce male hormone. This is testosterone, and this is for especially required for female. The secondary sexual characteristic, like the beard, like the mustache, the broad shoulders, etc. This testis is important for that. Pituitary gland. Pituitary gland, it secretes growth hormones, that is regulating the growth and development of an organism. So the growth, the height, the weight, etc. These are mostly dependent on the secretions from the pituitary gland. Then ovaries, for female, for women, this ovaries produce estrogen, and this is needed for female sexual development. Female do not have the hairs on their chest. They have different different aspect or different body structure than a male. This is because of the ovaries somewhat. So this is a very brief overview of this topic. Thank you so much and take care of yourself.